This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
Thanks for tuning in to Power Athlete Radio. Meet James Krause, professional MMA fighter, father, businessman, familyman, and humble stud. His humility makes him a natural inspiration for the many amateur fighters hoping to scratch the surface of one of the fastest growing and competitive sports on the scene. We had the pleasure of speaking with him about balancing training, life, and everything in between. A Kansas City native, James has stayed close to his roots and developed a thriving gym that caters to the fight community. When he's not traveling, he's passing on his skills and knowledge to the up-and-coming competition. James is a blunt guy with strong opinions about how the fans perceive the sport, for good or for worse. As he puts it, the casual fan has absolutely no idea what it's like to fight, let alone for 15 minutes. No fight gone bad or fight gone worse workout can even compare to getting kicked in the face, cornered against the cage, or giving everything you possibly can in a good old-fashioned one-on-one fist fight. This insight into the physical and mental demands of fighting will leave you, 1, feeling like a pussy for ever complaining about an injury, and 2, with a newfound respect for athletes whose paychecks are dependent on the almighty win, not a bullshit salary or hourly wage. This is episode 148.
Power Athlete Nation, what is up? It is that time again. You have the Power Athlete crew here on Power Athlete Radio. John Wellborn, the founder, the creator, the man, the myth, the legend, the one behind the curtain. Is he even real? Have you seen him in real life? Nobody knows. I've seen him. I've seen him palm a medicine ball. I've seen him chew an aluminum can and spit out a Hostess cupcake. It was amazing. Then you got Tex from DC. Tex, say what's up.
What's going on?
And then Tyler Minton, our nutrition guru, is joining in from Tennessee, the armpit of America. Tyler, say hey.
What's going on? We've upgraded. We've upgraded from the anus to the armpit.
Actually, did everybody tell where Tex's location is? He's actually sitting outside his car outside the junior high school watching recess.
Yeah, which is awesome because he's still allowed to do that. Yeah. Guys like you can't even be 300 feet from
I'm pretty sure
playground.
You're not allowed to go anywhere near. You also have to make a phone call everywhere you move.
That's true. Knock on doors. If you are listening to this and you have not given us a 5-star review, go fuck yourself. That means go give us a review on iTunes, on Stitcher, on whatever. Share our podcast. Be part of the community like everybody else. I'm not begging you, but I kind of am. But on the show today, who do we have? We have James Krause, UFC, badass, one of Tyler's good buddies. And James, what's going on?
What up, what up, what up?
So what's going on with you, man? Give us a little background. Let everyone know how you just fucking smashed your opponent, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, and what's been up with you, man?
Yeah, so since my fight, I've just been kind of on the road. You know, the last month or 2 months have been pretty busy for me. I went out to Denver to train for my fight, came home for probably 5 days, left for my fight in Pittsburgh. Came back for a couple days, went to Wichita, Kansas, which is about 4 hours from where I live. Cornered some teammates on that. Came back for 1 day and then left. Came back for 3 days and then left for I don't even know where the hell I am right now. Somewhere in Oregon or Washington. I'm like right on the border or something like that. So right now I'm in a hotel room watching Gold Rush, I think, and talking to you guys. So I'm excited. I don't have a whole lot going on right now. So
well, I mean, if you have free time, you are in Sasquatch country, so you could always just wander around the Pacific Northwest and look for the Squatch.
True story. True story. I mean,
are you Sasquatch, John?
You know what?
Strikingly similar dimensions.
Yeah, funny story. I actually met a girl years ago who dad was probably, or she claimed at least, the most prolific Sasquatch hunter in the world. Mm. He had dedicated 30 years to hunting Sasquatch. And
what is that even like? What is that like? What are his accolades? Does he have like what does he have that I don't have?
Mostly self-proclaimed, but
so the weird part is the girl was a Playboy playmate, and I met her at the Playboy Mansion. And as I'm talking with her, I was like, oh, yeah, so you're from around here? She's like, oh, yeah, I grew up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. She's like, yeah, my dad's really into hunting Sasquatches. And I was like, no, that sounds like something I'd say. And she's like, no, it's really, I'm not fucking with you. And she's like, went through this whole thing, and I actually looked him up, and the dude has like a full deal where I think he has a museum and the whole deal. So, I mean, here's my thing with the Sasquatch. How come they're always one step behind him? He's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably not that intelligent. How can we not find him?
I don't know. And like he's not.
His arm swing mechanics are terrible too. You know.
Uh-huh.
Well, he doesn't bend at the elbows. I'm pretty confident that he doesn't actually have elbow joints. He just has shoulders and wrists.
Is that your Sasquatch expert opinion?
Well, have you ever watched him walk? It's like a straight arm thing,
I mean, technically, no. No one's watched him walk.
Well, and nobody's seen him run, so he walks everywhere. So why can't we find somebody that just walks everywhere?
I don't know. Well, anyway, so James, you're gonna have to let us know what his arm swing is like.
Yeah,
So-
I'm gonna bounce a little bit early so I can get that hunt started.
But the best thing
Now,
to do
how would
is
you hunt? No, think about this. How would you hunt Sasquatch?
easy. I'll tell you right now. I'd rub my own feces all over myself and just make myself one with nature. They can smell you, John.
I mean, I assume you just go walk around for a little while.
What's the part? Wait. I said hunting, not mating. So how would you hunt Sasquatch? I'm thinking spear, bow, or rifle. Or no, spear, bow, or handgun, because you got to get in close.
Jack Link's beef jerky, I think.
Oh, Tex.
that was
Messing
a
with
joke.
Sasquatch.
That was a joke. Oh.
I'd have to go aerial surveillance, heat thermal, obviously, and then rifle.
Rifle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking bow.
Well, you'd have to get close, and that's
Dude,
impossible.
I got those tips that I shot those pigs with, and that thing would probably just
What do you think your lethal range is with that bow and arrow?
60 yards.
No, no way.
Yeah.
I guess on a squatch.
60 yards? I hit a pig at 60 yards.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what every other American would do and take a bunch of hand grenades to go after him.
He's like, I go home and make some homemade pipe bombs, and then I got a recipe off the internet and use those things.
Well, let's wrangle this back in from squatch hunting to James, our guest, who's taking his time to hang. So, James, give us some background. How old are you? How long have you been fighting in the UFC? How did you get into it? You know, the proverbial BS. And then Tyler, obviously, keep him honest, since I know you guys are good buds. Don't let this guy be too modest, and don't let him get out of hand.
Gotcha.
Look, it's not the year of the car; it's the miles it has on it. So I'm 29 years old. My last fight 2 weeks ago was my 49th fight, my 30th professional fight. Mix that in with a lot of jiu-jitsu competition, some kickboxing competition as well. I've been doing MMA for almost 10 years. I've kind of found it was just my passion. I found a way to make it my job, and more than one way, more than one revenue stream. Obviously, I love competing. I love fighting. I love cutting weight, and that was a joke.
That is totally a lie.
Yeah, I was waiting for Tyler to say something. But he didn't. He's like, yeah, this is going really good. I like what he's going with this. No, I love competing. I love fighting, especially at the highest level of the sport. But even more so, I probably love the business aspect of it. And, I love competing in business as well. So it's pretty much, with martial arts in general, I've pretty much found a way to make that my life in one way or another.
Now, is that a common approach with fighters? Like, is there a dichotomy there, like guys who just get in and brawl, and then there's guys who can do that and also like to wrap everything up and bundle it up as a brand and as a business side of the things?
I think there's a lot of people that try to do it. It is very difficult to do, though. It's a grind, man. It's you guys, with Power Athlete, I'm sure it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time that a lot of people aren't willing to put in to make it successful. It's a grind. It's just like anything. Anything worth doing is not gonna be easy. If it was easy, everybody be doing it. So yeah, it's difficult, but I love it. I don't ever work a day in my life. I get up every day. I love going to work, and I love the people I'm around. I love my employees, my training partners, my business partners. Really, there's no part of my life where I don't like doing something. That's pretty much how I've set my life up. Is like, hey man, if you don't like this, cut it. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty common thing for me. I don't do things that I don't like to do. I'm pretty selfish. So if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. And, that's just how it is. I love everything about martial arts. So I found a way to make money doing it and have fun with it.
James, quick question. Weightlifting is not necessarily associated with fighting. So I'm curious, how deep into your fighting career did you start lifting weights?
Honestly, man, I didn't probably touch a weight until 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't get into a legitimate strength and conditioning program. When I say legitimate, I didn't get into any strength and conditioning program until probably like my 23rd pro fight, I think, 22nd pro fight. And I've never been a big lifter at all. My weight numbers suck. I can't lift shit, man. Like, I'm just not good at it. It's not something I'm technically sound at. I don't have impressive numbers anywhere, but it's not a lift off whenever I get in there. In my field, I can use my brain. I can use my physical attributes. I have other attributes that I think make up for my lack of strength. And, Tyler can probably elaborate on that. I don't think I'm weak in my division. I'm probably one of the biggest guys in the division. So I don't feel underpowered, but like if you put me next to a dude in my division in a weightlifting contest, I'm probably going to get blown out of the water.
And so, Tyler, what's interesting is just hearing you say that is, this is maybe we are progressive thinkers. I know there's other progressive thinkers out there when it comes to the strength and conditioning world. But one of the biggest fallacies that we are constantly battling with coaches out there and coaches that are in touch and working with professional athletes for your caliber is they make the training about the numbers. So just hearing you say, like, when I walk out of the weight room, I don't have the biggest numbers. Like, who fucking cares? Because when you're in the ring and, it's second round and you're fucking choking somebody out or breaking somebody's arm, nobody cares how much you squat or bench press. You know what I mean? So, one of the things that John always talks about and is really true to our brand is training isn't the test. It's just a vessel to the performance, either on the field, in the rink, in the octagon, the proverbial octagon of life. If you're, an operator or military guy, like no one gives a fuck when the bullets start flying, So,
yeah.
And I think that's what also, do you think that because just by the nature of the training, it's hard to really be a really strong guy in the weight room when you're a martial artist? Like, I shouldn't say hard, but it could start to detract. Do you think that's why a lot of fighters, like yourself included, early in their careers are not really banging weights or doing a lot of weights training?
No, yeah, I think you're exactly right. You hit it right on the head. Like for me, it is hard though, because like I can't put up. I'm a tall guy in my weight class. So I'm 6'2" and I fight at 155 pounds. So anytime, and you can ask Tyler, like the one time I put on serious muscle mass, it was like the worst freaking cut I've ever done in my life.
Scary.
And, it was hell. You know what I mean? So, but I was big. I was getting big, and I was putting good numbers. I was lifting heavy, and but it just didn't. It doesn't work for what I do. You know what I mean? It's not functional. It doesn't make sense. Because we're not lifting weights. I'm busting this dude's face up, and he's trying to bust my face up. So that doesn't matter how much I can bench. And another thing is those dudes, the stronger they are, I feel like the less that lasts. For me, I can't lift a lot, but I can lift a decent amount for a long damn time. You know what I mean? Like I can last. That's one of my biggest attributes is cardio and muscular endurance. And I would rather have that than power for a round or two all day. It just doesn't make sense to me because it's not like we're locking up every second of the fight. And I'm a pretty physical fighter, so I don't really give a shit about the numbers. When people say, "Oh, I bench this, I lift that," I was like, "Cool, well, I hit you 10 times to you hit me once." So that's what's important to me. And so I don't really worry about the numbers too much. But every time that I've ever put up decent numbers lifting, my weight cut has been hell, and I fought like shit. So it's not something I really look at anymore.
Well, probably because it's hard to just cut muscle mass. I know anytime that we've ever done anything like that, all of a sudden, your body fat, you always feel a little bit better. You lose some body fat, and all of a sudden you try to trim off lean body mass, and it becomes even fucking more worse. But I always think, especially with fighting, really lifting weights wasn't, or never really has been in the MMA kind of martial arts culture. It was more in the boxing stuff. The boxers always lifted weights. So I think that kind of mentality, we were going out trying to, land big, heavy blows on dudes. But, in terms of the BJJ stuff, anytime those guys rather keep flexibility. And then you also have to look at economy of time. How much time available in a certain day do you have to training where you can actually have some meaningful, good output? Mm-hmm. I've always run into dudes like, "Oh, I train 6 hours a day." And you're like, probably about 45 of that was actually meaningful, good training. So, you look at maybe 2 to 3 hours of good, meaningful training. So what's the economy of time? Are you going to bang weights for an hour? Are you going to do your fight prep? Are you sparring, or what are you doing? And especially for kind of a mixed modal type of fighting with you got to learn not only your stand up but your grounding. And and unfortunately, the only way you're ever going to get conditioned for fighting is fighting.
Yeah.
And that's the shit that always kind of tripped me out a little bit, where people are like, I'm doing sport-specific training in the weight room, and I just kind of always shook my head, and I'm like, no. There is general strength training, which is done with weights and barbells, and you can do that, and you can do some conditioning. But at the end of the day, you do your sport-specific training either on the field or in the gym, or just doing something that involves actually honing your craft. And for a lot of the fighter guys, in the off season when maybe they're not gearing up for a fight, they get in the weight room and they train, but all of a sudden they taper into a training camp, and it's like, you guys know better than me what your training camps look like, but it's like, how much time available do you have? Because you have a finite amount of time. What's available to you guys to really maximize your performance? And unfortunately, maybe getting underneath a barbell isn't the best economy of time when you're like, hey, dude, I got a sparring partner coming in. We got to roll. We got to do this. We got to do technique work, and on top of it, I got to do recovery. And I got to eat. I got to sleep, and I got to make sure I'm not too beat up so I can actually get to the fight. So, that really comes down to the individual.
But John, don't you think we talk about the SAD principles, specific adaptations to impose demands. If you did have a fighter, and that fighter, the training was geared specifically towards rate of force development and replication of speed versus absolute strength, right? Using, not necessarily increasing absolute strength, but the rate at which force can be developed. Using like a deform collar, cat type shit, using your complex and plyo conditioning type style stuff with a barbell. Kind of just simple shit, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Don't you think that could improve the performance traits of a fighter?
Sure, if they had spent the time in the off season to actually learn the technique.
Right.
That's a big thing we run into. People want to do dynamic work or plyos or a lot of these kind of more ballistic dynamic movements. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that everybody wants to throw those in, and they might not be proficient at it. So if you could take somebody and develop all of these movement patterns,
the base level strength.
Just understanding what the squat should look like. We run into people. Case in point, a guy we're working with right now wanted to do, let's work on, speeds his problem, works on dynamic stuff. But if his technique is so shitty that he hasn't developed it on the back end, it's not always going to be as valuable. But,
right.
And the thing which I think makes MMA so exciting is that you bring fighters together of different disciplines. And I remember when, it was the Gracies, and dude, nobody could beat the fucking, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and they crushed everybody, and then you bring in more of the strikers and then the ground and pound guys, and then all of a sudden everybody started training. The Gracie guys were learning to do stand-up, they were training with boxers, and then all of a sudden then the ground and pound guys are learning to roll, and then you bring in wrestlers, and you bring in all these different disciplines, and you basically throw them out there, and you're like, hey man, what are your gloves, 6 ounces? 4 ounces? Yeah, 4-ounce gloves. Which I actually think is better, because when we used to fight with the big gloves, dude, you fucking way worse. You take more punishment. But so those dudes come out with 4-ounce gloves, and they basically just get to go out there and fucking maul each other, and you see which discipline works the best. And and then especially for the littler guys. James, you fight at 165, you said?
155, 155.
Fuck, 155. So, dude, everybody always wants to go see the heavyweights, but to me, fucking heavyweight fights are over so fucking fast because they're big dudes just hit each other once and they all go down. You watch like the lighter guys, to me, that's where the real fucking fun is, because those will usually always go the distance. And then also you watch a dude take 50 fucking blows, and the dude still gets up, and you're like, how did he take that many hits? And you think, how much force and how much weight's behind that? But, for those guys, especially at 155, it's really about how much endurance. And he even said it, he goes, my muscular endurance has to be fucking paramount. So I think as the fighters go bigger and you see 205 and even the heavyweights, I think that's where you start looking at a little bit more, But also the other thing, and Tyler and I rapped about this, is the guys that can cut to 155 that might weigh 170, and they can put on that 15 pounds in the 24 hours. Those guys come in and are a big 155.
Right.
So,
that's funny. Yeah. Those guys, the game has changed so much now, man. 170, if you come in at 170, at 155, those guys are small now.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, James, what do you like? Just be honest. What are you right now?
What an asshole. Probably between 190 and 195.
All right, so James is about 200 right now. So
man, come on, bro. I'm not 200 for sure. I'm 190. I think I'm on the lower end of that. I'm 190.
But we'll say like James is 190. We'll say 195. I'm just saying that. But like if you look at James right now, like you're not gonna be like, oh, that's an out of shape, overweight dude. Like he'll look normal. So like James can hold 195 and just like look like your average dude. So like we'll start camp at around like 190, 185, and it's just a normal that's normal weight. So when you're training it, you got James who's 6'2" at 155, walking around 185, 190, like normal every day-to-day life, fighting 155. It's just, that's where the magic of the weight cut happens, and why I'm not a fan of, I hate weight cutting. It sucks. I like to say we do it safely, but all these people who want to get rid of the weight cut are people who don't fight, or they don't use the weight cut correctly, because it's an advantage, man.
Hey, I cut a lot of weight, and I'm down to get rid of the weight cut.
Yeah.
What's so when you say cut a lot of weight, like what do you walk at when you're going into training camp?
Probably 85, 90.
90, and then about 2 weeks out you start your weight cut, and then you cut to 155 or 156 or whatever it is. So how long does it take you guys to cut that low?
You want to answer that, or do you?
No, I was gonna say, what do you? It depends. Like we'll show up. This time, James, I wrote it down. But what did you when we got to Pittsburgh? What did you weigh at the first check-in?
With no water or food in me.
Other than traditional when we ate breakfast, but. Yeah,
I was 172.5 when I got there.
That's how many days before weigh-ins? That was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
4.
4 days before weigh-ins.
But we'd already cut sodium out, and I had cut sodium at 176.5.
Yeah.
You pretty much cut about 10% of your body weight in about 4 days.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, that's a pretty serious deal. I mean, the other question too, and I was always meaning to ask Tyler a little bit about this, but like my experience is more, obviously I played in the NFL, but also I boxed when I was younger, so my experience is in that, and I remember like a big part of the boxing culture was always road work, and I could never fucking figure out like, why road work was so important when we did so much, and and then I had somebody explain to me once that he's like, well, I did road work, my trainer did road work, his dad did road work, and everybody from Muhammad Ali to Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano, everybody did road work, and it's kind of a tradition. So in terms of that type of stuff, with like doing road work or any type of traditions that you've seen that maybe you can't figure out, I mean, what really kind of dictates the MMA world, kind of like that?
So for me, like I just started doing road work again probably 3 or 4 fights ago, and for me, I don't even push myself super hard. I do 30 minutes 3 to 4 times a week at like if you're on a treadmill at like a 6.0 to 7.0. So it's just a basic run. I'm not busting my balls or anything like that. And what that does is like I want to keep my heart rate at like I don't remember what it is, but I want to keep it at like a mid level. And what that does is so for the high intensity stuff, I do that in strength conditioning. So my explosive movements and my my sprint work and all that stuff, that's done in conditioning, strength conditioning. But the road work for me is like if I'm in a car, and I have the strength conditioning is going to give me the really good high octane gas, but the road work is just going to give me a bigger gas tank. So like I recover faster and I can go longer. But for me, road work, where I see the biggest difference is just my recovery. So I can recover much faster in the 1 minute time that I have in between rounds.
So you think that just basically doing that base level aerobic type work helps just build a bigger engine? Is there any kind of like difference between doing it on the treadmill? I remember a big thing, especially with us, was that like you can't do road work on a treadmill. You had to actually get up at like when it was dark and run, and it was something about being outside. And I always thought like that was just kind of a lot of history or a lot of wives' tales. But I remember asking them like, hey, could we do this on a bike or an elliptical or anything? And they were like, no, you got to get out there and run in the mornings. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is terrible.
I personally think this is kind of old school. The thing I like about running over biking and swimming, because I'm a big swimmer too, I love to swim, but the running is going to build my lower leg muscular endurance, like my calves and my Achilles and my legs and stuff like that. It just gives you it works at a couple different muscles that you're not going to get from squats or whatever. I mean, it just kind of hardens those muscles up and preps them for fight time. But yeah, man, I get it in where I can. I'm not going to go out and run when it's 20 degrees out. I'll get on the treadmill, no problem. In the summertime, I love running outside. So for me, it's just wherever I can get. I hate running either way, so it sucks no matter what for me. So I just wherever I can get it in, I can.
Now, do you do any aerobic work in the off season, or is it just primarily in training camp or leading up to it?
Just to be honest, I try to do maintenance conditioning and stuff like that. But like for me, like I don't really have an off season, if you consider off season in between fights, but I still train 6 days a week, probably 4 to 6 hours a day. You know what I mean? So like I never get super out of shape or anything like that. Like my out of shape is most people's in shape. It's just because I live this life. You know what I mean? Some guys train for fights. It's my life. You know what I mean? It's my lifestyle. So even when I don't have a fight, I'm teaching classes and I'm getting in, I'm showing techniques, I'm going live with my students and stuff like that. So I never just get to a point where I'm like, oh my God, James is a fat blob shitbox. You know what I mean? Like I never get to that point.
James, could you paint the picture for a year for us? We were very familiar with the off-season for football and then the lead up to training camp and then the full season. Do you paint that picture for a fighter for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. I have a lot of stuff going on outside of fighting. So for me, I don't fight as much as the next guy. But really, there's no on and off season. It just kind of depends on how many times you want to fight and what level you're fighting at. If you're fighting at the highest level of the sport, like for me, there's no way I could just jump back into a training camp right now. My body's still beat up from the 15-minute fight that I was just in 2 weeks ago. I'm still my leg is still black and blue from getting kicked, and I mean it's in 2 different spots. So like I can't just jump back in right now and start training and getting my ass kicked again. But yeah, like don't look at it as like an all-year thing. It's more of like it would probably be like a training camp thing. So let's say, I signed for a fight. I immediately go into a training camp. Some training camps are, if you take a short notice fight, I've taken fights on a couple days notice when I was in the lower level. My UFC debut was on 16 days notice. And then sometimes you'll get up to 3 months. So it's always good to stay in good shape, if you can. But like an ideal training camp is probably minimum 8 weeks. I personally like the 6 to 8 week mark. Anything over 8 weeks for me, I start getting burned out because I train harder than most people. So I start wearing myself out. And I have a hard time taking breaks. And Tyler can attest to this. Sometimes they got to tell me like, look, man, you just need to take a day off. It's not something I'm used to. It's I don't know, man. I feel like I have to feel like shit to be in shape and stuff like that. It's just a mental thing, I think. But so you train for your training camp. Your last week is probably weight cut. You go to fight. Most guys take a little bit of time off, a week after the fight. And then if you're a good fighter and you're serious about it, you're right back in the gym trying to learn. So like if you don't have a fight, my objective is to keep learning, sharpening the saw. I want to add more tools to my toolbox. I want to get better at something. Like for me right now, I'm working on a really like traditional martial arts, like a lot of spinning back kicks, a lot of like, traditional stuff, because that's kind of making the comeback, with like GSP started it. Conor McGregor is getting real big into it now. And I've been working on it for a while, but you got to keep adding to your toolbox whenever you don't have a fight. Whenever you get that fight, you need to sharpen the tools that you have. So you're probably not going to learn much in the middle of a training camp. You want to make what you do have, you want to make it sharp, and you want to make it proficient. And so that's kind of the name of the game. And you guys were talking about efficiency earlier with movements and stuff. That's why I don't like to lift, because I suck at it. I'm not efficient at it because I haven't been doing that long. So I can't lift weights because my technique sucks. You know what I mean? Like I don't lift a lot of weight. But like if you put me on,
shit, man, you're talking to the right people. Get your ass up here, dude.
You need some fucking coaching,
dude. The last thing I like to hear is anybody telling me my technique sucks, because unfortunately or fortunately, that's the easy shit to fix. And like
the primal, primal movement patterns. Like it's what makes everything up. Sorry, John.
No, it's all right. I mean, so like it's kind of interesting. Like I don't know if you guys. I mean, McGregor has really kind of brought Ido Portal to the forefront. But dude, I've known about Ido for years, and Rob Wolf and him are good friends. They actually met each other doing capoeira. And so, dude, we've been watching Ido stuff, and he was involved with Chris Summers. And I mean, just his stuff about movement is so fucking cool.
Yeah, spot on.
And what he's doing is he's just bringing in different movement patterns and teaching like a basic level of competence that, in MMA that really hasn't existed. Because unfortunately, really the only guy that I saw that was kind of really focused on strength conditioning and that kind of movement stuff, like you said, was GSP. But being French Canadian just instantly fucking puts you at the bottom level. I mean,
it doesn't count.
No, he's got that squeaky voice. He's like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, so James, the challenge is like what Ito is doing in terms of performance perspective for a lot of this seemingly voodoo movement shit, right? Like, so to an outside, untrained eye.
But the other thing you got to remember, and this is my favorite thing about Ito's a guru.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So the one thing, and like, it's kind of weird. Like people always are like, "Hey, coach." I'm like, "Nah, dude, I'm not a fucking coach. Like, I'm a good athlete that can help other good athletes develop." But like the type of person that, and you guys all like this will make sense. I mean, I'm sure there's been people in your lives that like, as they worked with you, helped you believe more in yourself than you ever thought was possible, and they helped kind of clear away the rubble. And for me, it was. Raphael, who I worked with, when was my sprint guy and my strength guy for years, he believed in me more than almost I believed in myself, and that kind of belief allowed me to kind of blossom into as a player. And God, I hate that word blossom; it's such a weird term. But like the one thing that McGregor has done is, Ito has fucking been. I mean, he's that guy's guru. I mean, he fucking believes in him, and like if Ito's got him doing some wacky shit, McGregor believes this is going to be the difference. At the end of the day, fucking McGregor's fucking hard as nails and hits like a fucking hammer. Is it Ito's voodoo or anything? No, dude. Part of what Ito's doing is he's prepping that dude mentally to believe that he is the best in the world, that he has the best training, and what he's doing is making him untouchable at the next level. But
I guarantee we sit down with Ito on the podcast, he can make the performance connection on how this drill transfers to this movement.
Well, it's because he invented movement.
Obviously. Well, I thought didn't MoveNet invent movement?
No.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make, John, is like
the one thing, and you guys will know this, dude. The one thing which is interesting about gurus is that for the true guru, they have to believe that they've invented this stuff. And you guys have all like in the fight game, there's gurus all over being like, you're like, hey motherfucker, you didn't invent the fucking straight right, like in strength training and like all my travels, I met these guys that were gurus where they're like trying to tell me, I'm like, dude, come on now. Are you telling me you invented the fucking jump? Like, and that's kind of for me, I think, at least why I was, like with that kind of turned me off a little bit where I'm like, dude, was a good athlete that was able to adopt a lot of different training styles to kind of bring everything together and, hopefully offer other people. But, case in point, the door is open. If you want to look or work on not only how to do these movements proficiently, but how to like integrate them into your system, the door is always open for you.
Yeah, and the point I guess I'm trying to make to James or Tyler and anybody who's out there like fuck weightlifting and its application to fight, like you need a coach who can make the performance connection, where if you ask them why your hand is this way, why we're doing this weight, how many reps we're doing, why are we doing it this specific way, it should map over to a specific moment and scenario in your sport where it gives you an increased performance trait, right? Like,
I absolutely agree with that. And like, I don't, with the guy I use now, like I don't lift a lot of weights. Like a lot of our movements are just resistance with the current movements we're already doing. So he'll take a movement that we're doing. Let's say I'm clearing my hips from getting off my back. I'm trying to stand back up. He'll take that movement and he'll add resistance to it with a band. I love what we're doing, and I think there's a place for all the lifts and everything. What I'm telling you guys is if I go do a powerlifting competition, your boy's probably not going to win.
But you shouldn't win. That you should.
Well, here's the deal.
You should be able to get everybody up there.
If you did win, then obviously, this is what people don't realize is that to be the best of the world, you have to be fucking uber specialized at what you do. So like the idea of like I'm going to be good at everything is only good for people that are mediocre at everything. So the idea is if you're going to be the best in the world, you have to be 100% focused on that fucking task. So if we went in and you did a powerlifting meet and you won, the time and effort that you would take to not only be proficient in lifts and train and fucking prepare for that would take away from what's really fucking putting food on the table, which is fucking being wholesale ass. And, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, it's kind of interesting, like the transition from fighting and boxing into football was actually a really simple transition for me because it was about, using your hands, body control, your relationship into another athlete, and then footwork, which is all we fucking did in boxing. And the one thing that was always interesting, and you guys know this in the fight game, the person that usually has the fastest hands is the one that's able to land the most punches. So like, and I'm sure you guys have watched film on dudes, and you're like, man, this motherfucker, his hands are so fast. And like, to me, that was the best compliment. So it was something we worked on all the time. And that was like, something that was so important to me. I mean, dudes with slow hands got knocked out, and especially in football, dudes with slow hands got a lot of punches in the face. And, so like being able to look at those individual traits and then realizing what skills you have. And I'm sure, like if I asked you, like, what's your wheelhouse as a fighter?
That's probably a better question for Tyler.
What do you think? No, honestly, if James, if I asked you as a fighter, being like, all right, fucking, you get knocked down, everything's looking fucking dark. What's your fucking wheelhouse? Like, what's the one thing that you have that you can hang your hat on in your darkest moment?
The proverbial crane kick?
No, I mean, dude, because, like, I always think like that, like, you watch fighters and you're like, dude, once this dude gets knocked down, you're going to watch him close the gap and just fucking try to punish somebody's body, or he's going to go for that one takedown, or he's going for this. So
I have a couple different tricks that I'm really good at. I have a good guillotine choke. I have a good right high kick. A couple just tricky things. Like I said, it's just I don't have like one thing that's like my go-to. I don't feel like, but I'm good at. I think maybe the one thing is the ability to do everything, if that makes sense. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, the other one is, can you suffer? I mean, that's really, like, in sporting, like, dude, especially playing football, and I know in the fight game, like, everybody's fucking in, before the bell rings, and then the minute you get out there and you take that first fucking shot, I mean, you all of a sudden, and I know, dude, I mean, shit, you guys watch Ultimate Fighter, and you guys have been in enough fights to know that, like, everybody's got a big heart when you're walking out there, and the minute that fucking you get hit, you watch dudes' hearts fucking shrink. And we used to talk about it all the time, be like, man, I don't know what happened. I hit that dude, his heart shrunk up, and it ended up looking like a fucking candy Valentine's Day heart. And like that analogy, but like, that I think is, and then you guys run into other guys, you fucking hit them once, and all of a sudden their heart swells up, and you're like, oh fuck, dude, I just unleashed something.
He's praying for me.
That's me. That's all I am good at.
Dude, I told Luke the story that we were playing in Washington, D.C. I was playing for the Eagles, and there was this big fucking strong brother that was playing 3-technique over me, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. I mean, he looked like a fucking $1 million, like looked like a pro bodybuilder. And I came out and was just spearing him in the head and just fucking beating his body up. And all of a sudden, after I beat on him for about a quarter, I decided I was fucking gonna show up a little bit, and I threw him over the pile when I on a run play. I threw him over, and I waited, and as he like went over the pile, he went to get up, and I dove over the pile and speared him in his fucking ear hole. And I got up and I totally teabagged him. And you guys are familiar with the teabag?
Yeah.
That's when you wait for a guy to get up, and then you pop up fast, and you just kind of like wipe your nuts on his head as he walks over.
Oh, I did it.
And he like all of a sudden fucking gets this look in his eye, and he starts looking up, and he starts praying real loud for me, asking God to forgive me for
Dear
whatever.
God, forgive him for what he's done.
Dude, he was fucking sermon, and Trey Thomas, I played next to, was like, yo, man, you better back it up. He's praying for you. I was like, fuck him and fuck you. You fucking bitch, and fuck him. I mean, I've been beating on this dude. And that next play, we ran like an inside zone to the right, and I'm playing left guard, and he literally ran through my head, like slammed my neck to the right, like went through and tackled for like a 1-yard loss. And I was like, okay, I see it. And he was still praying for me. And Trey's like, man, you better make up with him. And then the next play, he fucking did the exact same thing. He drove me like 5 yards in the backfield and like tackled the ball carrier as he was getting the ball. And I'm like, all right, I shouldn't have done that. And then I was like, I went over to him. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to like insult God or anything. And that he was like, it's okay. God forgave you about 2 minutes ago. And I'm like, all right. So then,
do the bro dance then.
And then at that point, I was like, I'm just not going to make you look bad anymore. So we kind of just like played a little bit of patty cake for the night, which was totally against my deal. But I'm like, man, I can't just be crazy.
Is that I shouldn't say prominent, but that exists. Like, there's kind of like a handshake where it's like, hey, let's just take 5 plays, make each other look neutral, or is that just like
maybe? I mean, unfortunately, as a white dude, I never got that fucking deal because they were like, because there was always this deal, be like, man, you gonna let that white boy beat up on you? And I was like, fuck.
Because I
used to see a lot of the brothers fucking brother-in-law. We used to call that the brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's what in my heyday, high school, right when I was fucking 14 years old, practicing against the varsity squad. I'm trying to make a name for myself, be fucking big time, and these guys were like, hey, listen, we'll give you 1 if you give us 4. How's that? It was like the brother-in-law, and I'm like, I had no clue.
That was the fucking
and one of my best friend back then, Colin McCurry, was like a 5 foot tall, just little fucking fire plug, and like against this dude who was triple his size, like a 6'5", 300 pound, He's like, hey, McCurry, I'm gonna let you get this one. And fucking, like, the biggest mismatch, this dude just gets worked by fucking McCurry, and the whole thing just stopped him like, there's no brother-in-law in practice! And the coach just fucking, like, blew up. I was just curious. It's just, looks like it carries over to the pro level.
No, but in the fight game, that doesn't happen.
Oh, fuck no. Like,
No.
I'd like it.
Unless you get some lazy,
You get some mean motherfucker in there, it'd be like
some lazy-ass
smoke screen,
Brazilians that just want to lay on each other.
It's almost like the opposite in the fight game. Like no one tries to, like, when James spars, he don't really try to knock people out. When James spars me, he tries to kill me. So, like, I swear,
Tyler, I know you, and I would try to fucking
kill or
you
be
too.
killed.
Anyway.
I don't know what it is. It's just Tyler incites people to violence. You see him out there, and he's all gangly, and you're like, I'm going to fucking kill this dude.
I got a rule. I've only tried to kill you one time, and that's because you broke the rule.
What's the rule?
The rule is if your foot touches my face, we fucking fight.
Oh, so you kicked him in the face, huh?
Yeah. Mark your calendar. That happened.
Was that some, like, weird
like
fucking crossbody
Obviously not hard enough. That's the problem. But it was no. I mean, seriously, like, when I go with, if I'm going with just someone, like, you'll prove points. Like, there's guys. I mean, James, I know, can think of a few. There's been a few guys in the past. There was one guy at James's gym that kept kicking me between the legs. Like, he just kept doing it and kept on, and I wanted to murder him. After that, but usually, like, when I go with, like, best friends and stuff, like, it's different almost. Like, I try to knock James's head off. I can't. But I try to make it the most gritty, grimy. He'll take, like, he'll be on top, like hit me, and I'm like hilling him in his legs. Like, I've got my heels and just digging my heels into his legs and his back and stuff.
What about the just gratuitous fucking nut shot? Like, I always wonder, like, some of those low blows of dudes like, hey, fuck you do that again, and he just hauls up and fucking drills a dude in the balls.
Oh, you mean a mulligan?
Mulligan. That's what I explained to Luke. In MMA, we call that a mulligan. So if I'm losing a fight, if I'm telling, one of my teammates, if you're losing the fight, your back's against the cage, you're getting beat up, that's the perfect time to knee the dude right in the balls. Because all that's going to happen, they're going to separate you, you're going to get 5 minutes off, and then you get to start over. It's a mulligan. MMA mulligan.
I love it.
Well, you got to kind of make it look like an accident, right?
No, just straight up fucking toe punt right to the fucking nuts.
You mean
you can't like pick the guy up off his feet with a shin,
We used to call that the Sean Landetta. Sean Landetta punted in the NFL for like 25 years, and during a play, this fat piece of shit fucking poked me in the eye, and I hauled back and I gave him the Landetta square to the balls, and they ended up finding me fucking 20 G's for that. So I played that game for free. Those motherfuckers.
And then you got the little, like, didn't Jared Allen get fined for, like, giving a ball tap? Do you remember that, like, 5 years ago?
Yeah, but I think
10 years ago.
It was a quarterback. Like, I think he fucking, like, kind of, like, as he was getting up, fucking karate chopped the quarterback in the balls.
I forget. I think it was
great.
He's got enough money.
Yeah.
Him.
It was like a friendly ball tap, just bro on bro,
Bro on bro ball taps. I love it.
I mean, usually it's in the locker room after. You're like, hey, bro, watch out.
Yeah, that's what balls are for.
Well, you don't know there's a rule in the NFL. It's called no naked man touching.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So,
like,
a legitimate rule.
There's a legitimate unsaid rule. One is, like, you make eye contact with dudes at all time, and there's no naked man touching.
That's weird.
So
I want eyes on my package at all
and
times.
no sharing shower heads. So
shocker.
that was a big one with, like, the rookies who walk in and, like, can you soap me up? I kind of hurt my shoulder. Can you use a shower head? And they'd always be, like, real nervous.
So was this a finable offense?
No,
or was it just like you get exiled and outed?
I watched dudes fucking fight over this. I saw two guys go to blows, which was awkward because the one dude rubbed up against him, and the dude turned it off and hauled and hit him, and they were fighting naked. And I was like, you guys are fucking abusing.
You're breaking the rules.
I was like, dude, you went from naked man, you elevated that from naked man touching to extreme naked man wrestling, which was
no.
Yeah, it was weird. And then nobody wanted to pull them off because they were naked. Or touching those
eye contact. Everyone's like, eye contact.
Yeah,
eye contact.
That's awkward.
Well, we got down into naked man wrestling.
Well, I'm just glad to know this podcast has really deteriorated now that Callie is not, because we used to have Callie, one of our coaches, who's a woman or a girl. She used to be on here, and whenever things would start to fucking deteriorate, she'd like, whoa. But yeah. she'll go back and edit the shit out anyway.
Maybe.
Probably not. She didn't even listen to him anymore.
Hello, it's me.
You guys, of course I still listen to the show. I could never tire of listening to you talk about ball slapping. Now back to the show.
So, I guess, how long, Tyler, James, when was when would you say that moment was that you realized that you fucking made it big in UFC and you're like, this is a fucking real deal and I'm,
Still hasn't happened.
Oh, yeah, so never.
Well, I was going to say when he started working with Tyler Minton.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
No, I mean, man, I don't, I'm never happy with what I did. I'm pretty disappointed in my last performance. Yeah, it's, I know that I'm good and I know that I'm a world-class fighter, but to me, it's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be successful in everything I do, and I don't like losing. I don't like losing at a game of checkers. So, I'm very happy with what I've accomplished so far. That being said, I'm not happy with, in the grand scheme of things, where I am right now, and I just, I have a lot more to offer. I have a lot more to show everybody. But I guess to answer your questions, like my first fight in UFC. It was a very pivotal moment for me, and just the win itself did a lot for me. I fought a guy named Sam Stout. He'd had 16 fights in UFC, 8 fight of the nights, and I grew up watching this guy. So that was my first fight in the UFC. I fought him on 16 days' notice in his hometown in Canada, and he hadn't been finished in 7 years, so it was a really, really tough fight for me. But I took it, and then we ended up going to war and had fight of the night, and I ended up finishing him with like 13 seconds left. And I got submission of the night too. So it was really it was a very pivotal moment. It's probably the biggest accomplishment in my life so far. But yeah, it was a great moment for me. It kind of legitimized myself to myself, if that makes sense. I was like, okay, fine. Like I knew this before, but there was just, maybe 1% doubt. And I finally did it, and I finally showed everybody. So now it's like, okay, this is real. Like, I know I've proven this now.
Yeah, so, like, the kind of welcome to the league moment, I guess. And I get where I'm getting to is, John, as a veteran of, like, the proverbial rags to riches, however you look at that, what type of advice do you have for James? Because how long ago was that fight, James?
That would have been 3 years ago.
So 3 years into, like, that moment, and now kind of like striving for excellence and everything that comes along with it, Well,
what was weird was for me, I came in and started and played as a rookie, and then I remember I got hurt, and then I came back that second year, and I was kind of in the fight with it, and I remember the general manager walking over to me and like basically told me, he's like, hey man, like we're in this together because you were my draft pick, and he's like, I expect you to start because if you do real well, that's going to help my job. And I was like, ooh. So the general manager is, like that was a big fucking moment for me. So I always wonder with you guys, especially, I mean, with your guys, man god, Dana White, I mean, I imagine like at some point that dude kind of comes over and like the Godfather puts the ring out to kiss it. And you're like, should I kiss the ring? Probably fucking kiss the ring. So I always wonder if there's like somebody in the fight game, kind of comes over there and puts their hand on their shoulder or kind of offers you that little deal, or maybe it's just purely like, this guy's big time, and I just went out and beat his ass. I just wonder always kind of like what that like moment is, even though you've gone out and played, like all of a sudden when people that are key players in the organization start realizing or start kind of acknowledging you in a different way, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on, these people fucking ignored me fucking a month ago, and next thing you know, they're actually like, hey, what's happening?
Yeah, they know your name.
Yeah, they know your name.
Yeah,
I remember
I think that is just like collectively. I don't think it was like one moment, but I think collectively over time, you have other big fighters that you respect saying good things about you. You have the commentators who watch, thousands of fights, hundreds of thousands of fights probably, saying good things about you. I have Joe Rogan talking about me on his podcast. I have other guys, saying stuff about me too, and it's like collectively over time it adds up. You're like, oh wow, these guys think highly of me, and then I have people that I surround myself with that are very critical people, and I like that. I like being challenged, and I like pressure. So I try to impress these people around me that that think very highly of me, because if I can impress them, it's hard to impress myself. I just don't look at it the same as other people do, man. Like I'm just out here having fun, man. I'm just a kid from a little small town out here having fun and trying to make a couple checks, you know. So to me, it's I've already done way more than I ever thought I was gonna do. So, you know, I try to impress the people close by me that are very critical, and if I can impress those people, man, it's that I honestly I really don't care about Preston, Dana White, or any of those guys, because you know it just is what it is. You know, I want to impress the people that are close to me, that know me, that know my mind, that know what I'm thinking, they know my life, and they're very critical of me and my performance.
Oh, okay. Dude, that's how would you say you're 28, 27?
29.
29. You know, it's when I came in the NFL, they had this deal called the Rookie Symposium, which was all the rookies that get drafted end up going to this big deal, and they bring in a bunch of ex-players. And I remember as I was sitting there, one of my favorite pieces of advice I ever heard as a young guy was this guy gets up there and he kind of, you know, gets up and gives a few words. And he goes, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of advice. Don't make a hoe a housewife. And like everybody kind of stopped, and he's like, I'm going to break this out. He's like, if you can think you can take a girl off the pole and bring her into the house and get her to make dinner and raise your kids, you're fucking sorely mistaken. That's going to fucking result in all your money being gone, having a bad experience. And this dude went into all these things, and like he's like, don't make a hoe a housewife. And then like kind of somebody like kind of asked the question, and he's like, I know what you motherfuckers are doing. I'm speaking from personal experience because I married a girl and tried to bring her off the pole, and it fucked my whole life up. And this dude went into this whole thing, and then I can't remember what it was. It was like don't make a hoe a housewife, and he had all these funny ones. He's like, man, don't ever drive around in a car smoking weed with a bunch of other dudes that are smoking weed. And like he had like the fucking funniest ones, but oh yeah, don't ever give your money as a financial advisor to a dude that has a nickname like Mad Dog or Cobra. Right, like that.
What? Oh, you have a financial advisor. What's his name? Cobra.
Yeah. He's like, your financial advisor's named Cobra or Mad Dog? Don't have him. And then the other one was like, you can't retire on rims. And everybody's like, what do you mean? Case in point, when I went a couple years later, I came in and one of the dudes on our team had ordered, what was it? It was 13. No, it was 20. What was it, 24 rims. So he ordered 6 sets of rims because he had been driving around on his big 26 inchers with like a little rubber band tires and kept cracking rims on those Philly streets. So he said, fuck this. And the guy, I guess they told him if you order more. So the dude had 24 of these huge fucking 26-inch rims delivered to the facility. So he came in and like his whole locker around there was all these rims. And he was like, had them. And he dropped something like, I think each rim was like $3,000. So I mean, what's that? Like $75,000 on a set of rims, on a bunch of rims for his truck. And the best part is the guy had lived in an apartment, so he had nowhere to store them. So he had to pay the equipment guy to store them in the equipment room. And then if he fucked up a rim, he came and did it. Case in point, you can't retire on rims. So if you go drop $75,000 on fucking rims, you probably should be driving a stock fucking car.
Yeah.
And, so that was my favorite. But I always remember, don't make a hoe housewife and don't have a financial investor with a nickname. And this guy was speaking from personal experience because I guess he had some dude named Mad Dog, who's his financial advisor, stole all of his money, and all the rest of his money got stolen by his stripper wife. So the moral story is, you know, that was a little bit of advice. So whenever I talk to the young guys here, especially power athlete, I tell them we can't make a hoe a housewife. So.
But I'm going to try my goddamnest.
Yeah, and like the other one was like, no matter what she makes you believe at the strip club, she really don't like you that much. Like it was fucking like I wish that somebody, and I'm sure somebody's done it now, like brought in a video camera and video camera the shit that they say at the Ricky Symposium. That was the one where Chris Carter got up and he's like, yo man, when you guys are going out, you need to have like your boys with you. So if something bad happens, you got one cat, that's the fall guy. That's what he got up and told him. He's like, you guys get busted, you got one dude that you've already paid.
Yeah, pay a
He's
fall
the
guy.
fall guy at all times. They got up and fucking said that.
That's good though.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was like there was another one where they did these little like impromptu kind of like situations. They brought in actors and they had different players in these acting deals. And one of them was like a party and like had brought up like one of these guys and he was supposed to be at the party having a good time. And the girl starts rubbing up on him, and like all of a sudden there was this dude named, I can't remember his name, but he was like the head troop guy. He'd be like, freeze. And then like everything would stop. And then he would ask players like, hey, like what's going on in this situation? And like the girls rubbing up on him, they go freeze. And all these dudes are like, man, she wants it. He needs to take her in the back to bang her. And these dudes are getting all mad. And they're like, I'm like, half these motherfuckers are going to be in jail just for fucking being sexual predators.
Dude, there's like Ballers, fucking The Rock on Ballers.
Yeah.
Season 1, I'm like halfway through on the fucking hack.
It's awesome.
But there's like, that's basically what he does. He babysits these guys, and then there's like, there's scenes where they're on like this fucking yacht, just basically raging it, and obviously there's cell phones there, and the shit gets out, and then press like.
I am just really thankful that cell phone cameras and like all of that stuff was just starting out. Yeah.
So your sins are just are etched in memory.
Next topic.
I am glad that my children, like, there's nothing out there of any of the crazy shit we did. So I'm just really glad. But case in point, like, that's the world we live in. Whether or not you're a fighter, I mean, fuck, dude, that happened to a bunch of guys I know. I mean, shit, that one guy who's the receiver for the Patriots, I mean, fucking took down some broad. And she all of a sudden, laying in bed with him, he's sleeping, snaps a picture and loads it to her Tinder, being like, look who I just banged. And you know what? Like, and I was like, and I remember when that came up, I'm like, that's fucked. And my wife's like, why is that fucked? I'm like, because that's fucked. Do that shit. My wife's like, she's trying to, I'm like, so what now? She's trying to fucking up her status by the fact that she went home with that dude? I'm like, come on. You gotta keep this shit.
You gotta, see, here's what you don't understand. Like, you're on your ivory tower of your professional athletes, on your rims, tower of rims. There's guys like me that need to level up. And if that means I'm taking down Edelman and taking a selfie with them,
dude,
and that gets me level up, I'm doing it.
If you take down Edelman and get a selfie, you all of a sudden fucking just went up really high on the book. I mean,
And that was like, if I were female.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not. So let's wrangle this back in. James, so do you know any details on like upcoming fights or what's coming up next? I know like healing and recovery is obviously your priority right now.
What are you doing for your recovery? Like, are you being proactive? Are you seeing a doc? Are you prolotherapy? Anything like that?
It's been pretty difficult because I've been on the road ever since I fought. But I mean, I have a chiropractor that I go to. I've seen him a couple times, and I actually just got a massage this morning. So I'm, whenever I get back, I'll just, I'll probably just the normal stuff. There's really not a ton of stuff that I can do. I'm trying to. My thing is like. Tyler's like, hey, you need to take some time off. And I'm like, look, bro, if I take time off, I'll be 200 pounds. So it's like catch-22. So I'm trying to, like, train without hurting myself, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Where do you live in Kansas City?
I live in Lee Summit.
Oh, okay. I used to live in OP.
Yeah. So about 20 minutes from there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I do. I lived out there 4 years when I played for the Chiefs.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
So, I know the area. The actual gun shop that I used to buy my guns from was in Lee Summit.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah? Yeah, well, that's kind of like if you're from Kansas or from really any other state other than California, like actually going and buying a gun or like going and shooting is actually a somewhat enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it's not that crazy.
And there's some different places. This place we went, the guy would say good prices and was real good on things. And here in California, you have to give like blood, hair, and semen samples, and then pictures of your kids, and go through a 10-day waiting period just to get a fucking anything. So it's always like whenever I hear anything, I'm like, oh, it's the best times, not this California bullshit.
Yeah, you can walk right in and get a gun same day if you pass a background check.
Dude, you can buy many. Kyle Turley, who was one of the guys I played with, we used to actually live kitty corner from the Bullet Hole, not too far from there. The Bullet Hole over up in, it's in Kansas City, kind of downtown.
I've heard of it. I've never been there, though.
So we used to roll in, and the guy's like, like basically shoot whatever you want, buy whatever you want. We're like, oh, these 5 guns. He's like, yeah, sure, take them. If you want to bring me some money next, like, demos. I mean, so those were good days.
So James, if you're not training, recovering, fighting, do you do anything outside of, I think spend time with family. I think you got a young daughter just came out, right?
Yeah, I have a 9-month-old daughter. If I'm not training or anything like that, I'm working probably. I would say probably 12 hours a day. Tyler hates coming and staying with me because yes, he does. He's like, are we just gonna stay here at the gym all day? I said, yeah, man. Yep, we're staying here. So I'm like probably 8 to 8 every day. You know what I mean, at the gym. And I try to fit time in for family and stuff like that. So it's either work or family, man. I really don't have a lot of free time other than that.
No, I'll just here's where I jump in because James is insanely modest and stuff like this, and dude's my best friend, so I'll back him up. The one thing, and I work with a lot of different guys, and I am I guess semi-retired professional fighter myself. Like the thing about James that's different is James has reached this the highest level of fighting. He's reached the UFC, but he's literally living the life of everybody else, which is crazy. Because it kind of goes against the grain of everything you hear about, like you can't work. You just need to do all this all the time. All you need to do is train. It's like James does all that, but he also, like I said, he wakes up, man, I would wake up like 6:30 some mornings and go downstairs and he's already awake. He wakes up super early, watches TV with his kid, gets to the gym at 8. And it's not just like going to the gym and sitting behind a desk. He gets to the gym at 8. He holds mitts for some of his professional fighters that, are trying to get to the UFC that aren't there yet. He'll do like 3-4 private sessions with these guys for nothing. I mean, they're not paying him for that. He just does it because he's invested in making them better. Then fight training, I've been to the best gyms in the world. In the nation, sorry. I've been to the best gyms in the nation, like all the big name gyms, the ones that you hear and all of that. And none of them train, in my opinion, as hard as Glory MMA. It's absolutely terrible. That's why anytime the CrossFit workout Fight Gone Bad inherently drives me nuts because those people have no idea what a Fight Gone Bad is actually like. You can look through my pictures and see exactly what a Fight Gone Bad is. So, going to fight training, and fight training is what, James? Like an hour of constant drilling. When I say drilling, it's live action drilling, followed by 5-minute rounds of live work, striking with takedowns, just full out wrestling and all this. Then you go eat lunch, you come back to the gym, it's business meetings, it's stuff like this, maybe some more privates. Then you have another session at night, and you do the exact same thing at night. You get done at night, you go eat, still business. There's things you got to do. There's emails. There's.
When do you do the sumo deadlift high pulls?
The sumo deadlift.
You were talking about Fight Gone Bad, and theoretically, just doing sumo deadlift high pulls and some 75-pound, other things would theoretically,
make you a better fighter.
I mean, that would be like fighting, really.
Exactly. It's really similar. Like the sumo deadlift high pull it parallels getting kicked in the face really well. The kind of the same demands.
Well, I could be a fighter then.
No, you don't really have a very good sumo deadlift.
Are you fucking kidding me? Bro, let's go. 1RM sumo deadlift.
That's what I was going to say. 1RM sumo deadlift high pull. Well, how high?
He took offense to that.
No, but seriously, man. So it's really cool, and I get people that make fun of me and stuff all the time and call James my boyfriend. But dude, James, you were talking about like coaches that have like made an impact on your life. Like, dude, James has probably impacted my life more than anybody I've ever met. Just because he's this guy who has reached that level. And dude, he's not even really like told his whole story of getting to that level, and it wasn't an easy road. He wasn't that guy like that you see the UFC. He wasn't CM Punk who just gets a call, hey, we want you. It was he got a call of, hey, we need you to come take this last minute fight because we need someone to get their butt kicked by Sam Stout who's going to make all this money. And that's exactly what it was. It was Sam Stout fighting in Sam Stout's home country. They weren't bringing James in to win that fight. They were bringing James in to take an easy, to give Sam Stout an easy win against a guy who's going to make it look good. And James goes out there and absolutely destroys him. Comes home, buys a gym with that money, and it's also one of the most profitable businesses I've ever personally been involved with and seen too. Is James's gym is like an absolute amazing MMA gym. It's not one of these hole in the wall gyms where guys just get together and punch each other. I mean, it's a well put together business, man. It's just so he's not giving himself nearly enough credit on that stuff. So I want to jump in and do all that because I would highly doubt there's anyone else in the UFC that has nearly as much going on. So it's pretty crazy to actually see that in person.
Keep going.
Dude, I was like, No wonder you're his girlfriend. I mean, I haven't heard anybody fucking blow anybody like that in a long time.
I'm serious, man. No, but seriously, he was
so good, James. Oh, he's
oh Lord.
So what the listeners can't see because we're on video is Tyler's actually rubbing James' feet right now. Just a nice sensual foot massage. Seems to be candlelit. They're both shirtless. That's just what's going on.
Luke's actually
and I'm jealous.
I know a little bit of drool come down his lip, which was a little. He had a starry-eyed look where he's
to go with that though. Honestly, just because the weight cut is it's an annoying time. It's not a very fun time and all this. So we
Tyler, do you cut weight side by side with these guys?
Sometimes.
No, he doesn't.
Like not the same. Like this last time, because I had two guys, I'm going back and forth.
First of all, fuck you. What you need to do, if you were really his fucking man and his boy, you would come in and cut fucking pound for pound with him and do it right with him.
Damn right.
Listen to this. Anyway, so I was in the sauna. Well, I mean, I was in the sauna with James, and we used something called Abilene, which is it's a makeup remover or something, but it makes you sweat. And so, like, you actually put it on large muscle parts, and it makes it makes you sweat more. So we're in the sauna, and there's all these other guys in there, and it's like they're just really comfortable being naked and all that, and it's just really weird. So we're in there and we're talking, and like once it gets to the point, you're kind of tired. We start to deplete the glycogen a little bit, so you're not able to. You're not moving fast, you're not thinking very clear. You don't want to think, and that's kind of one of the things, like I tried to tell James is I tried to do all the thinking for him during that time because he's not got glycogen. So like I take Abilene, and you can't reach your back. Your back's a large part. So I'm like putting Abilene on James's back, and like the 5 other dudes in the sauna are giving us these really weird looks.
And I'm like past the point of giving a shit about it. I'm like past the point of giving a shit about anything.
Yeah, so
I get it. Like, is there a look like, hey, are you putting that on me next kind of look? Or is it more like, why are you guys rubbing lotion on each other?
So really loudly, like, I mean, I said it so they could all hear it. I'm like, James, did you explain to these guys that we're gay porn stars so this isn't weird? And he just looks at me and just kind of nods and just kind of one by one, and about a minute later, we were the only ones in there.
You know what? That's fucking, to quote Luke Summers, that's puss.
That's pussy.
At that point,
I'm sticking it in.
I was going to say, all of a sudden, Luke just went and hung his fucking towel up on the hook and sat back down.
Let's get weird.
Yeah, being like, if something's going down, I want to be first.
Oh,
Luke
God.
Summers made his bones by always going first, not by going last.
I like to think that we were talking about like the unwritten rules of the locker room. I was thinking of one of my best friends who would never make it in a locker room with rules like that is Dusty Crackers.
Oh yeah.
By far the weirdest person who has rubbed off on me, literally. Weirdest person in the world that just has taken my threshold for weirdness to a whole different level, and I'm not even on his fucking level, man. It's fucking hilarious.
He's a strange cat.
But Tex, you got anything else?
Yeah, James, I just got to suggest, I found it interesting in your off-season you would go and then learn techniques. So I would suggest that you come out to HQ and just learn not only lifting techniques, but kind of our movement prep. So don't think of training as limited to a barbell and weight movements. It's also kind of stepping, lunging, and what Luke mentioned, primals.
Man, I'm 100% down. I'm not closed-minded about anything. I'm a continuous learner, man. So yeah, absolutely, I'd love to come out.
Or shit, better yet, we go back to Kansas City and John can relive his heyday at the Chiefs, show us where he bought his guns, where he'd shoot them.
Yeah.
Who knows? A little field trip?
Yeah, I always like Kansas. That's not true. I didn't really like Kansas City.
I was going to say, come on now, don't lie, bro.
I honestly, I started to do it, and I was like, nah, I can't lie about it. Kansas City was interesting in that it was kind of strangely like segmented. Like when I was there, the plaza was real big, and then when they opened up all that Sprint Center, and it became kind of a more fun place. And there were some decent spots, but for the most part, when I lived out in OP, it was fucking terrible. It was like it's like pre-planned community, so like every quarter mile there's like some
like a cookie cutter.
Oh my God, it was like a Best Buy, Cheesecake Factory, some weird Mexican spot, and like a fucking Art Mart.
So what's the local delicacy? When you took us to Philly, we did cheesecake fucking apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on in Kansas City? What's that?
Barbecue.
Yeah,
Barbecue.
It's barbecue, but what's strange is I'm not a big like Kansas City barbecue fan because it's so much sauce. Like I like more like the smoked kind of dry barbecue. Yeah.
Like Tennessee.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Texas. The first time they took us to this barbecue spot, they fucking drowned the meat in so
Where'd
much.
Where'd you go?
I remember the first place I think we went was it Jack Stack's?
Oh.
Jack Stack's good. Oklahoma Joe's is the spot there though. That's the place you need to go.
So I did make that. So when I went, of course, back for seconds, I was like, "Hey, can let's get the sauce on the side?" And this woman looked at me like I just fucking kicked her kid in the face, and she was like this, and I was like, I just don't want you to drown my fucking food in this.
Dude, I like it extra sloppy. I'm down with that.
I like it fucking like the salt lick.
You're a dry guy. I got it.
Yeah, where it's fucking smoked, kind of rub. It just was too much sauce for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if in a perfect world, I mean, it's not like I'm fucking mad at barbecue. The one thing
sounds like it.
They have a pretty decent beer in Kansas City for the Boulevard.
Boulevard, yeah.
Beer. Yeah, that's pretty legit. Like back in Philly, they Yingling, like they only sell it back there. So whenever we go back there, we always fucking get Yingling. But I remember Boulevard was pretty good. What else did we do in Kansas City?
That's it, bro.
That's it. There was really, really nothing. I mean, I guess if you want to get fucking weird, Luke, you probably would have been down to the Lake of the Ozarks every weekend.
Oh, dude, I went there for like family vacation back in the day. Just crashing wave runners, living a dream.
Yeah.
And I guess thinking back in retrospect, there were a lot of vans without windows.
Yeah. Kansas City's a nice place. It'd be a good place to actually raise a family, and it was nice communities. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was fucking Midwest, dude. I mean, as soon as it got cold, which was strange in Philly, it would snow and you'd have big things of snow, but it wasn't bad. Fucking all of a sudden I went to Kansas City and it was like snow, ice, black ice, and like the craziest fucking weather I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and it was like nothing. There'd be a big storm and like 50 people would be dead from fucking crashing up the highway. And I'm like, I mean, that shit blew my mind. I'm like, if you know there's black ice and the weather's just bad, why the fuck are you doing 100 on the highway? So,
get over it quicker.
It's crazy.
We have bad weather and educated people.
Did you grow up in Kansas City?
Yes, I did. Yes. I was about to say that, and then I was like, oh, shit.
No, you
gotta always... I can't say that because I try to rep the city, man. I really do. Like, there's nobody, like, I don't know, man. There's not a whole lot going on. Like, there's the Chiefs and the Royals and shit like that. And, like, those dudes don't – I feel like nobody supports MMA in Kansas City, like, at the Kansas City level, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, the MMA community obviously supports MMA, but, like, nobody outside of that supports it. Not like if you see, like, the NFL and soccer, like the Sporting KC, the Chiefs, the Royals, they all support each other. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. It's just like none of those guys acknowledge anybody doing anything out of the MMA scene. They're like, dude, this is a big deal, man. Like, I'm not the only one either. There's other guys out there fighting at the top level of the sport. You know what I mean? Like, I fought at MGM Grand a couple times. I fought at some of the biggest venues in the world. And
what's the big local venue? Like where have they had any UFCs in Kansas City, or like
no?
When you fight locally, is there anywhere local that's like a pretty big deal to fight?
Honestly, I probably own the biggest promotion in Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
Or I don't own it fully. I have a partner and I do it. But there's it's weird. UFC's never been to Kansas City, and then like Kansas City's a weird town, man. Like they don't follow like venues or events. They follow specific people, specific fighters. So unless that specific
it's the NASCAR approach out there.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Dude, NASCAR is fucking huge because we actually went out and did the Richard Petty experience and went to a NASCAR race. And, dude, I swear to God, man, they must have had a few 100,000 people at that NASCAR.
Yeah, it's like 2% of NASCAR then.
Yeah.
So, like, it's the NASCAR approach without all the money and people.
Yeah, dude. I mean, whenever the NASCAR guys were in town, they would always come in and, like, always come to the facility. And we always got to go. And then the cool part was we got to race in the Richard Petty experience and all that, which was fucking amazing. But dude, the first time I went to a NASCAR event, I was like, holy shit. Like there was thousands of people like in the stands, in the infield. Like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I didn't know there was this many fucking Winnebagos and trailers in the fucking world.
They don't play around, man. They have that Kansas Speedway out there. They don't play around with that.
No, dude. And the crazy part is everybody is on, like they sit in the stands with scanners. So what they're doing is they're like listening
into
in,
like the pit.
Well, like between the drivers and their crew chief as they're talking through, and like, dude, these guys are on their headsets with their scanners, and they're like, fucking obsessed. Like I don't think
Is that the next phase for the NFL for the fanship?
Oh, dude, I cannot imagine
Pay-per-view.
if fans could listen in. So that's part of the reason why they don't do wireless. Like they have like the feeds, with the wires, or they used to. Maybe they have a way to do it now. Mm-hmm. But originally that was why they didn't go to the wireless, because they didn't want people tapping in. So maybe they have a way to do it digitally now.
There's like short range wireless shit that doesn't go up beyond 50 feet, and they probably would just put repeaters within a proximity so you couldn't pick that shit up.
But yeah, they I mean, dude, I always thought it would have been bitching too, especially in a fight if they mic'd up like the corner guys, and I got to hear like, you're getting your fucking ass kicked. Let's fucking go. We got a steak dinner after this, bitch. Let's go.
They mic the corner up now.
Yeah, they do that now. They
do?
Yeah, they'll do that now. But what happens is fighters give it to like their guy who's not going to say that stuff. Like James, for instance, has Tim Elliott, who's like one of the most exciting fighters in the world. But there's no way that they would play anything Tim Elliott says on television.
But you can usually still hear it through the microphone that the other guy.
Okay. I mean, hey, if the sad part about the state of, I guess you could say, American fans, or actually just global fans of sports, is they have no concept of really what it's like in terms of the grand scheme of things. That they believe that there's some hierarchy and and it's like, dude, no way. I mean, especially like, that.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's like case in point, like you've seen in the NFL where they like mic up a player and then they follow him around.
Yeah.
And like,
okay, I got you. Okay.
It's such
good job, boy.
Oh, it's so fucking bullshit.
Yeah, no.
I was like, if they ever mic'd me up, and like, first of all, I didn't say a fucking word because I was usually trying to catch my breath. So like, dude, like people are like, oh man, I'm like, dude, it's worthless. All they're gonna hear me is fucking breathing, mouth breathing, and panting, and pretending like I'm not gonna fucking throw up and going, oh, I can't breathe. And then like poking myself on the side, and I can't fucking breathe. And then
I wish they mic'd. I wish there was a way to mic the fighters up, because I talk to the guys I'm fighting.
Oh, do you really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you talk shit, or what do you say?
Both, yeah, whatever, man. Like I mean, it just depends on, sometimes I'll talk shit. Most of the time I'm talking shit. Or laughing at him or smiling at him or,
What is your best fucking line? Like, if you were going to drop something on somebody, like you got anything?
Or maybe what do you think the best line you've had has been? Because I'm pretty sure it's like contextual, situational.
Yeah, man, it's not like a line. It's like, if you know this dude just hit you with one of his best shots and you call him a bitch or something like that right after, it gets pretty demoralizing. Like I don't know, you just talk shit the whole time. It gets demoralizing. Like, you make a miss and you'll say stuff like, man, you can't hit me. You know what I mean? Like, you can't touch me. You fucking suck. You know what I mean? Like, I'll say stuff like that, just talk shit during the fight. But I think you can't hear any of it, though. Like, in this last fight, I was, like, screaming at my corner at one point. Like, they're telling me to breathe. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even fucking tired at all. And it was from one end of the cage to the other. You can't hear it at all on the broadcast. But I talk shit to him all the time. You just can't ever hear it.
Dude, my best is I was playing against this guy, and he had his face was kind of fucked up, had a bunch of pock marks, and my line to him was, "Is that where the coat hanger kept missing you?"
Oh.
And
it was like a couple plays, and then he was
he was defensive lineman, so he was basically a moron. One step above fucking licking paint when paint liquor, like a window liquor. And so it took him about 3 or 4 plays, and then all of a sudden I could see, the fact that like it was sinking in, his brain process was so slow.
I
it took him about 3 or 4 minutes, and all of a sudden I could see his eyes getting real big, and he started getting real angry, and started making all this noise, and I was like, it took you that long to get it. I was like, oh. So then we started messing him up with dummy calls instead of looking at the tackle and being like, hey, I'm coming your way, and he'd like look that way, and then we'd run the other way, and he'd run that way. He was a moron.
At what point do you think it's in, like, in all levels of competition, like going back to what you said, the general public and the fan base think that there's, and I guess I'm kind of getting on like this CrossFit Open thing, which is I'm really not that burned up about, but they believe there's a level of integrity in competition.
It's I think people, especially for sports, believe in the inherent honor of the two people, that there's something honorable about two guys putting on gloves and going out there and fighting. That's why, like, when you see, like, certain fighters that people fucking hate are usually the people that the fans deem as unhonorable or dishonorable. Like,
no integrity.
Well, like, kind of like, I mean, you got to think, like, Anderson Silva would, like, taunt people and make them look stupid, but he would just fucking also crush people. But all of a sudden that dude loses, and they couldn't fucking rap fucking. I mean, look at Ronda Rousey; she destroys people, and then all of a sudden she gets taken down,
and then everybody hates her.
And like, everybody hated her, and I was like, really? I still kind of like her. I thought she was. I mean, dude, everybody has one fight. Like, she's done this, put her barrier, and so I think there's like this weird. I don't know what it is, but like maybe this like the American people or just anybody in general, fans, like view person, because if you think about like some of the fights where dudes just go out there and they fucking literally just two guys put on the best fight and they warrior each other and it's just back and forth, blood and guts, and the guy, like, to them it's kind of like, oh man, that was an honorable fight, these guys have honor, they fought hard, and you're like, you paid money to come see this and to be entertained, fuck you, basically, like so we always thought that there was this idea of somehow like people believed in the inherent honor of it, and when they get shown that people aren't honorable, they all of a sudden are upset with it.
Yeah, man, that's nonsense, man. This is a fist fight. You know what I mean? Like, man, the difference between winning and losing is half my paycheck. So if I can fuck around and I can play head games with this dude and that gives me an advantage in the fight, you better believe I'm gonna call him a bitch every time he kicks me or punches me.
Sure, dude. But that's the athlete's perspective.
And that's the essence of competition.
Yeah, like fuck. Like the way I look at it is, do whatever you have to do to win and be successful. Like, if it's talking shit, all ever. But I think that there's a disconnect, because you got to remember, most of the fans that are sitting out there have never been hit. They've never been in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, the casual fan, look, I'm the first one to tell you that the fans pay my bills and stuff, but the fact is the casual fan usually don't know shit. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is, man, and like, they don't see what goes into this, and like you said, you hit it right on the head. They don't know what it's like to be in a fist fight. You know what I mean? And even if they have been in a fight, we're not talking about a 30-second fight on the street. We're talking about fighting for 15 minutes. When's the last time the casual fans fought for 15 minutes and understand what goes through your head and what it's like to get hit and act like it doesn't hurt, and what it's like to get your neck cranked on and act like it's not hurting? You know what I mean? It's just, man, this is not.
Or the bigger one is the fact that the casual fan and most people have no concept of the amount of work leading up to it, whether it be the training camp, the weight cut, the refeed, all of these things that you did to prepare you for this day. They just show up and are like, oh great, are you not entertained?
Yeah, right.
And like that shit, like they sit in the seat and you're like, hey motherfucker, I've been living this thing for fucking months.
And on top of that, the guy across is trying to take that away from you.
And you know what? And the money that I'm going to win here is going to open a gym and put money in my kid, or put food in my kid's mouth. So, like, I always remember, like, when people start taking it to, like, I played against guys being like, this is how I feed my family. When you hear a dude say that, you know he's not fucking around. When dude's talking about, hey, I want to buy another set of rims, that's a dude you get to beat on. But when a dude's like, man, I got 400 kids, I'm going out to kill the motherfucker. Like, that's that type of, motivation. And I think what always pisses me off with the little stuff, and kind of similar to, similar why I always kind of dug on, when ESPN went and did like their 30 for 30 and they were following fighters, especially on the fight stuff, and you get to see the prep and what happens building up to it. They got rid of that 30 for 30. I was kind of upset about that. But you know what? The guy that was in charge, that wrote it all, the guy that created that whole thing, ended up getting fired because he, on an airplane, got caught jacking off next to
Sky Crank?
Next to the chick that just got
Erin Andrews?
Yeah, Erin Andrews.
What's wrong with that?
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Yeah. I just fucking, because I was just reading the Erin Andrews thing, which is fucking horrendous that whole thing happened. But dude, she had the dude cranking on a plane next to her, and she didn't say anything because she had been treated so badly by ESPN on that Peeping Tom thing. They thought it was a publicity, and they made her do an interview. It's like fucking bad people. But all right, sorry. But I think what people have no concept of is the fight before the fight, leading up, all the things that you're doing to get there. And I think, like, they just buy the ticket and they show up and they want to see blood. And, like, for me, that fucking sucks. Like, I always want to know, like, what a training camp go look like, like, what kind of injuries, like what have you done up to that point? For me is the meaningful stuff. Like, like once you get there and you put your game unis on or your shorts.
The haze in the barn.
Yeah, the haze in the barn. Time to go out and fucking beat wholesale ass. Like, all the hard work was done. So what always pisses me off, too, is, if a guy gets knocked out or something happens, everybody's like, he's a fucking bum. And I'm like, fuck you. You don't know what this guy did leading up to it. He could have been hurt. He might have been a million different things happening. And the problem is that everybody's so instant gratification that that's the same shit that killed me in the NFL. You lose a game and all of a sudden you're the fucking worst. And you're
Armchair
like,
quarterback shit.
Yeah, you're like, we've been doing this shit for months. You don't think anybody on this team wants to win? Fuck you. And that's, probably should say that as much, but I'm not fucking, the fans aren't paying my money anymore. But that was kind of where we got kind of twisted up a little bit and being like, hey, we're out there fucking trying as hard. Like, it's not like we're fucking sandbagging the shit for some ulterior motive. Mm-hmm. So,
Well, it's just so easy to make comments from the couch, man. It's, and that's anybody. The fact is in any sport, you're only as good as your last performance. So it's easy for people to say, oh man, he sucks. He got knocked out. And, but as you know, in football, it's a game of inches. In MMA, the margin of error, especially at the highest level of the sport, is so minute that if you make one little mistake, if your hand is 1 inch lower than it should be, that could be a difference between a KO and you KOing him. It's the margin of error is so small at the highest level of any sport that mistakes are going to happen, and that stuff happens. And like you said, it's not like I'm not going out to fight. Trust me, man. Like I'm trying to whoop this dude's ass. I promise. I'm not. So it's not like I went into this fight like, I'm gonna lose this one. I'm just not gonna try. I don't go through my head.
Well, and the UFC is so fucking competitive that, like, I mean, dude, like, guys are fucking willing to give body parts to get into it. And so all of a sudden, when you get into a situation and like you go out there, like, and I think that's why people like it. I mean, that's why fucking boxing has died, which is such a sad deal, because you don't really see the competition in the fights anymore. It's like, hey, my purse is already set. I'm going to get $350 million. You're going to get $200 million. Let's just go out here and dance around and throw some jabs for the next couple hours. Like, whereas you go in the NFL and the UFC, and it's like one bad fight and you might never get asked back.
Yeah, there's James Krause out there, hungry motherfucker, trying to just get his.
Yeah, but I mean, think about, like, I mean, and my favorite is somebody goes out and has a bad performance and you hear Dana White fucking down on him, like, yeah, that dude's never coming back. It's such a I think the reason is that people are digging on it because it's so competitive, and it's guys are out there busting their ass for it, and I think professional fighting in general fucking needs that, like a shot in the arm more than anything, just because I think people got so disenfranchised with the fucking bullshit of professional boxing and the Don King and the money and all the fucking scam that was going on. So no, it's legit, man, and I fucking have loads of respect for you for doing it, and fuck, man, I'm stoked for you guys.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Well, James, listen up, man. Where, for people who may not be following you yet or already, where do they go? I mean, you got a YouTube channel, Instagram. What do you got? How can they find you? How can they get in touch with you? How can they, how can they reach out, or how can you reach out to them?
Yep, Facebook. I have a regular page, I have a personal page, and I have a fan page. My regular page is capped out. So it's facebook.com. My fan page is the James Krause MMA. And then Twitter and Instagram are .com/the James Krause. And it's just, I'm pretty active with people. I usually answer everybody. I comment on all your guys' stuff. And anybody asks me questions, I usually answer them pretty honestly. And, I try to interact with everybody that wants to interact with me. I'm not like some of the guys don't answer anybody, but I try to keep it cool, man. I try to talk to the fans and stuff because I appreciate everything, them giving their money up to watch me fight and their dedication to watching me because, it is at the end of the day, those guys are paying my bills, and it's so I want to fight for the fans. I've changed my style. I've changed, honestly, man, I'm probably way better on the ground than I am standing, but I try to strike because that's what the fans want to see. So,
no, dude, if you want to check out his Instagram, I'm actually on it right now, man. He's got a pretty solid Instagram. I'm looking at this picture of your man, Super Duper Bobby Cooper.
Yeah, dang.
This fucking gash in his forehead is like, he got cut all the way to the white meat. Like, I can see a skull in there. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty legit, man. He even got a picture of your little kid, man. So that's cool. I personally try to keep my kids off of Instagram because they're a lot of weirdos. So, I don't always, yeah. So, but no, he's got a legit deal. Holy shit. No, I was looking at, damn. No, it's, dude, yeah, you guys are, I mean, what you guys are doing is pretty amazing, and yeah, man, we're stoked to, accept you in the family, and de facto because we somehow adopted Tyler recently, so I feel like you're our friend now.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, we'll be in the proverbial corner on the other end of the TV in a much more comfortable fucking situation, fucking cheering for you, man. I'm excited.
Actually, the next fight we'll go, and then we can get up there and beat up some fucking fat out of shape people in the audience. Like, I used to always laugh at the NFL games that during TV timeouts we'd stand there and we'd watch the fans fight each other. So like my favorite is we'd be standing out there TV timeout and be like, oh, look at that! And you see these dudes up there just meleeing each other, to use Tyler's term. And just over there just knocking each other out. And I remember being like, why are they fighting?
It's a game.
Yeah, you guys paid to come to watch us battle, and then these people get all jazzed up, have a couple beers, a few hot dogs. Next thing you know, they're busting on high school football stories and start laying the dudes out.
Well, dude, it's like Tyler, a.k.a. Dalton, when he was telling me regaling me with his bouncing stories.
Oh, yeah, where he used to bounce at Chili's?
The butthole Chili's of America. He said anytime they would have fight night, like, him and his crew would like have a pep talk and back and like headbutt each other and get ready for the brawl because a bunch of drunk assholes are gonna just like chest up at each other because they think they can do what they're seeing on TV.
Well, like the UFC events do so much for the undiscovered talent of America.
Dude,
it's just so much, man. I say of Joe Silva doesn't even know what he's missing. Like there's so many guys in bars who could beat up Conor McGregor, beat up Ronda Rousey. They could do it all at once.
Dude,
all drinking a beer.
I've been to like 3 UFC fights, and the hilarious part was we were at one in Vegas, and we were kind of like there was the floor, and then as it went up, we were in that next kind of section up, and there was obviously a fight school because they all showed up in their fight school T-shirts, and they had an entire row, and then like the row in front of them was like just some other assholes. And these dudes were, like legitimate guys that were training. Like they were there kind of like as fans, but also probably there as like, hey man, like we want to be exposed to this because maybe one day we'll be here. So they were super uber serious. I mean, every one of them's got, cauliflower ears and, a busted up nose. I mean, these dudes all look like pretty battle hardened. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching them. They're all in red shirts. And I'm sitting there and like I'm kind of watching them. And like these dudes are super serious. And of course, the fucking drunk fans, the people, all of a sudden this dipshit in front of him like throws his popcorn and beer in the air and like hits this one dude, and they proceeded to wreck shop on like everybody in front of them, and then security comes and they threw everybody out, and like I was like, holy shit, it was actually more entertaining to sit there and to see these fucking drunk morons get their asses beat by this like and like the T-shirts were like it was like fight team, Muay Thai, like they had like so many styles in there. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And like
some of my favorite fights to watch are like the two guys that don't know shit and they get so tired that they can't knock each other out and they can't keep their hands up, so they just keep hitting each other over and over again. Those are my favorite ones to watch.
Like,
that's my style. What do you call that? That's my style.
That's called the Homer Simpson.
Oh, that's great, man. Well, all right, man. Well, I'd say we wrap it up and just save something for next time after the next big one.
Yeah, this would be great.
But James, awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Tyler, same to you, man. I know you guys are busy out there in the good old Midwest. Actually, James, you're up north. But
I don't even know where I am.
Yeah, back to it, man. Back to recovery, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, see you guys.
Now it's time for you to empower your performance. You heard the man. Anywhere you need to find him, you can, under the name The James Krause. That covers Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Links to each of those pages can be found on this episode's blog post. So become a fanboy and closely follow the lives of he and his professional trainer / oil applicator / sauna servant, Tyler Mitten, ASAP. Until next time, bye!